Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is DrTonyTonyChopper, and this is the final part, our finale for the Master Grade Tallgeese EW version. In this part, I'm going to throw this guy through the ringer, and hopefully he gets a good grade to bring home to mom. Let's get started. Alright, as we have him in this epic looking pose, we're going to start talking about his articulation. So, first off, when I was making this kit, I was wondering, how the articulation actually work. It actually is pretty good. We have good, solid, almost 180-degree bends at all the different joints, and the arms, or the entire arm can actually reach over and touch the other one. So in terms of that, articulation is really good. We get really good ab crunches and everything else. But if we're stacking this guy up against other guys, other model kits, it's just around average. So he gets a 7 out of 10 for that. Alright, next off we have posability. Now it kind of goes hand in hand with articulation. The better the articulation it has, the better the posability should be, right? And I'm telling you this now, the posability is very decent. He can get a very good amount of poses off. Right now I'm kind of cheating because he's actually up against the back here. That's why he can actually stay forward. But his Dober gun actually does a good job of posing with him, but you have to remember that you can actually take this portion off, this connection part, if you need to pose him even better. That's one of the areas why he's not going to get a perfect score, or even that good of a score, in terms of posability. He gets an average score of 7 again, and that's mainly because in order to get him into a very good pose and make it stable, you need an action base. Alright, in terms of color separation and the way the colors actually look, he does a muy bueno job. The yellow or the orange sticks out really well on him, as well as all the different gray parts. They're all separated very nicely. So when you come in to paint this guy, if you do want to paint him, it'll be easy peasy lemon squeezy. They did such a good job at him that he deserves a solid 10 out of 10. I would give him even more bonus marks, but that's only because I'm a Endless Waltz, the movie fan, or OVA fan, and the way they've made this guy is that he can pretty much recolor him and put him and make him into a Tallgeese 3 Master Grade. And I've been wanting that for the longest time, and I'm sure some of you guys want that too, so very, very good. They already did that kind of in the Tallgeese 2 Premium Bandai exclusive, so Bandai please. Alright, in terms of gimmicks, this kid does a okay job, and when I mean okay, it pretty much has the standard. When I mean standard, we're talking knee separation with the armor, elbow separation with the armor, cockpit hatch opens. Very, very standard stuff, right? But if we get to the back side, we also have a couple extra bits. The mechanism that allows us to fold and come back apart when you pull it. That's also a very good gimmick they've added. Also, these exposing these parts right here to release new thrusters. That's also very, very cool. But this kit goes a little bit further, and they give us a thing with the Dober gun, the famous weapon that this guy uses. And here, that's the spring. So, although I probably won't ever use this mechanism, especially when posing, it's a good, nice feature that they added. And this gives this kit a slightly above average score of 7.5 out of 10. So, for the options and playability portion, I mentioned before that I had to get like a Ziploc bag for these guys, these different manipulators. And that pretty much is a testament to this kit. He has a million different manipulators, which gives you a very wide range of options and playability options. You can pretty much put the Dober gun on either side, same with the shield, because the connection bits, they technically can go on either side if you did want him to, and he can hold weapons on both sides. Also, when you do put him into an action base, he does have a whole bunch of different things you can do with him and the way you can pose him. So, that gives him a very good score of 8 out of 10 for playability and options. Now, I would like to say one of the major Achilles heels of this guy is his sturdiness. Now, his sturdiness is relatively strong around this area going down, except there are a couple areas you have to be careful of and will come off. These parts right here, they come off very, very easily and are pretty loose. You will want to glue those in, maybe after you paint them. But with the way the feet go, and if you want to pose the feet, you're most likely going to dislodge that a little bit. So be a little bit careful. Also, the construction of the waist, right here, his ab crunches are very nice, but since the backpack is a little bit heavier, it's going to become a problem. He's going to be leaning one side or the other, or he'll just go straight back like that. Not too big of a problem, but if you want him looking mean and menacing, it might be. Also, that part I mentioned before with the arms, not overly sturdy. They can come off really easily, and it looks very, very bad otherwise. Reminds me of a high grade, so that's not very good. And the last part I want to talk about for sturdiness, which is an alarming concern for me, is right here. This part in here, this blade, this part's actually connected to that thruster. Now, the way you move it, the thruster moves as well. It moves alongside. Now, if you put this too far out, the thruster will actually come falling out. And the only way to put that back in is if you completely take apart everything on the thruster pod and put it back in, which is a major pain in the ass. And that gives this guy a sturdiness score of 6.5 out of 10. Not exactly the best score out there, but I didn't exactly crucify him for having some issues. Now, while he is double grasping his Dobergun, I'll tell you a little bit about his proportions. Now, in my personal opinion, I love Hajime Kotoki's work, and of course, I believe he was the main illustrator and designer for the Tallgeese. So that kind of reflects on the way he looks. Proportions are very, very nice, with nice, sleek, slender Korean model legs, or K-pop star legs. And they look really, really good. The thickness of the thigh, just about right. The arm size, everything. In my opinion, the proportions are one of the major good highlights of this kit. And I'm going to give it a very good score reflecting that. A score of 9.5. Now, as you may or may not have noticed or wondered, the Tallgeese isn't no noob. He ain't no nub. And he has no nub marks to really show for that either. Most of them are hidden in a very nice area that you can't really see, so very good on Bandai's engineering part. Also, in terms of seam lines, there's only really one seam line, or two really, you have to worry about, and that's one on the barrel. It's actually quite bad if you think about it, but it is not overly noticeable. And then the second one is right where the chest parts come together, the front and the back half, but that's not too noticeable either. And because of that, he does get a very decent score. And that score is 8.5 out of 10. In terms of weapons and accessories, this guy does a pretty decent job. Not only does he have the standard Gunpla model things, like a shield of sorts, a rifle of sorts, and beam sabers, he also has these thruster packs. I'm not really going to consider a part of the main body, because they are technically an accessory if you think about it. And these do a very good job of being articulate, and they don't really get in the way. None of the weapons or accessories do get in the way of each other too much. And also, we do get decent connection points from right here and on the different sides for the shield and the Dobergun. And of course, these beam sabers fit relatively good inside the hands, no weight issues there, and you can put out some decent poses with that too. And that gives this kit a pretty modest score of 8.5 out of 10 for the overall weapons and accessories. One of the last categories we have is the overall image of the Tallgeese. Now, he does a very good job of being very cool looking. The different colors do pop on him, and the proportions are just right. The weapons don't look overly out of place with the scale of anything, and he does a very good job of just looking good on your shelf. Just look at that. Relatively simple pose, but he does an okay job of it, or a decent job of it. And in terms of overall image, I'm going to give this guy a very solid 10 out of 10. He does remind me of what I saw in the anime. Not exactly anime colors, but the embodiment of the Tallgeese is right here. You can clearly see the essence of the Tallgeese, and that's what I'm looking for when I'm giving this overall image score. Does it remind me a bit about the anime? Yes, it does. And does it do a good job? Heck yes, it does. And finally, for our unofficial category, extras, this kit pretty much has none, but for the things it does have, I have to give it a score somehow. We have a tiny Zex Merquise there, and the pretty much standard extras that everyone gets now, the decal sheet. These are dry transfers. And with that being said, he gets an extra score of 1 point. Yeah! Alright guys, it has finally come to the time where I give you my overall score, the final score out of 100 for this guy. Hopefully you were doing the math alongside with me, and if you have, you'd probably get the same score as well. My final score for the Master Grade Tallgeese EW is 83.5 out of 100, which gives it a letter grade of A-. Now, I know you guys have been wondering, I have been bashing this kid a little bit, but the way it adds up, it still gets a decent score. Not quite in the high 80s, we're talking about the mid to low. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go out and buy this kit though. If you can get him for a good price, he's a decently solid kit, and he does fall within that range that I mentioned before that you should be buying your kits in. Nothing lower than a B, B-, because when that happens, it's basically a big high grade. Alright guys, that concludes the review for the Master Grade Tallgeese EW version. I hope you guys liked it, and please continue to support me in the future. Give this thing a like if you actually learned anything, or if you enjoyed it, and also don't forget to subscribe. The next video I'm going to be doing up on the channel is going to be something very close to the Wing universe, so be sure to stay tuned for that. My name is DrTonyTonyChopper, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, guys.